This is episode number 167 of the Smart Marketing Show, marketing with accessibility in mind. This episode is brought to you by ServerPress, makers desktop server. They make local WordPress development easy. Check them out over at serverpress.com. And our new show, The Query. Go check them out over at WPwatercooler.com/The Query. Ask Jason Cosper some questions. If you want to support us over on Patreon, go to patreon.com/WPwatercooler. I'm Jason Tucker. I'm an IT developer and web developer and IT director. You can find me over at Jason Tucker on Twitter. And this is my friend Bridget Willard. She's a marketing consultant. She can be found over at YouTube Can Be a Guru. And this is our friend Joe Simpson Jr. He's a front-end web developer and he's an accessibility advocate. Hey, Joe, how's it going?
Hey, Jason. Hey, Bridget. How are you two?
Hey, we're Camp Orange County.
I
saw that. I saw that pic. This is my favorite one because I love the colors. But the second favorite one is with dragon.
Well, you know, I love them all. I used to be a designer in another life, and I had to pull aside the word Camp Orange County guy. And I was like, I love every logo you do. Like that kind of stuff is important to me. So yeah, every year they rock some great gear.
I will say that's one thing I miss about in-person word camps is the T-shirts. I thought I would not like it. I mean, some went to Goodwill, but I kept the best.
Mm-hmm.
So accessibility, like we say that and everybody, I come from construction. So we say accessibility and we think of the guy in the wheelchair who's suing you because the path of travel is wrong, or the valuation threshold, the fact that you have to spend 20% of your budget on ADA improvements from the outside in, or that the sink is too high and there's no 60-inch turnaround in the bathroom, or the flusher is on the wrong side. But it's the same law, it only applied to the web. Like it needs to be, literally the word means accessible. We call it ADA in construction, but accessible, like everybody has the right to have the same experience or the same access to the same knowledge. Would that be a fair definition, Joe?
Oh, definitely. I mean, to me, and I always turn it around. It's more like you're making your services and your business available to more people. Who doesn't want to make more money? Don't you want the biggest audience possible? So why not create all the services, all the things you do on the web, all the things you do on social media, and all the things that you do in terms of marketing? Why don't you make them available to as many people as possible?
Yeah. I love that. I mean, that's a good way to think about it. I mean, why don't you just be a capitalist and think about having the largest market?
I know, who wants less money,
But, okay, so I got LASIK a couple of months or a month ago, and now I officially have 20/20 vision, which is amazing. And it's, oh my goodness, I'm telling you, the colors, that's the best $4,600 I ever financed in my life.
Nice.
I thought I would be able to read better and I could kayak. I'm going to try to learn to kayak and then not fall in the ocean and lose my glasses, not be able to see. Like, this is what I'm thinking. Like, so, right. But so I would always say, oh, I'm 47 years old and I can't read that. What about somebody who has color blindness or who's older and their eyes are aged or who is literally legally blind? Like, and I would say, like, this is too hard to read, y'all. With your background being in design and all these trends of super light gray.
I know the gray hyperlink is one of, I want to ban that forever. Or the no underline hypertext.
Oh, the no underline is the worst.
Yeah. I know I came from a design background, and to me, I sort of make fun of designers because it's more of an ego thing with a lot of designers. It's more about style over substance. It's really, and now just think how many apps you use. If it doesn't function right, you don't use it. So why would you design something really just for style or show? So yeah, so I always make fun of that former life, but I mean, it's so important. I mean, you have to think about how someone's going to use it. We always talk about test when I think about accessibility. When I give presentations in the WordCamp community, especially on accessibility, the first thing I do, I ask people to pull up their website or pull up a client's website that they're proud of. Close your eyes and hit the tab key 3 times. Do you know where that highlight is going to be when you open your eyes, or if it even works? that's how you find out immediately if a site is accessible to somebody with a screen reader. So it's just the basic things. I always talk basics when I talk accessibility, because if you do the simple things, you'll be on your way to making it more accessible to everybody.
Okay, I've never heard about that. And I'm really good friends with Rachel Cherry.
Yeah.
I knew that they used tabs, but I never heard like press tab 3 times.
Well, it's like
a tab through the H1s, through the headings.
Well, if your website, you know, and the great thing about WordPress, there are a lot of themes that are accessible right out the box. And by tabbing, it sort of simulates what a screen reader does. A screen reader goes through the site and it sets up a structure. So for us as people that are sighted, or we can hear, or we don't have a disability, we quickly scan a page to decide what we want to read. A screen reader does that for someone with a disability. So the tab is their mechanism for jumping through a menu or jumping through the page. So yeah, so if most themes have that built in that are accessible in terms of WordPress.
Yeah.
And if yours doesn't, or if you built something custom and it doesn't, you're failing right off the bat. So
yeah.
I mean, I knew that's why you have to do your headings in order: H1, H2, H3, H2, H3, H2, H3, like, you know, as an outline. But I didn't know that they were tabbing.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, it's an easy, quick way. You know, a lot of, like I said, a lot of times when you think about accessibility, people want to argue over the semantics of a point, or whether it was funny. I was just at an accessibility meetup 2 weeks ago, and there was a long debate over how to write alt tags for images. And I was like, that's pretty dumb. Isn't it the point that you should do them? And just by doing that, you're on your way to making it accessible. It's not about, I mean, you could figure out the semantics later, but it's important we all just take that basic first step.
Yeah.
Yeah, the alt tag thing is interesting, and also the fact that you could have graphics that are on the screen that may have a name, but don't necessarily play into like the ability to use the website. It's more for decorative sake. And so declaring the fact that they're a decoration versus something that you actually want to click on is helpful, because that probably gets rid of a lot of the stuff that's on the page that screen reader is going to have to go like, you know, left corner, right corner, you know, bottom corner, like all of that sort of thing. It's just going to kind of get rid of most of that, so you're not having to listen to every single, you know, image that's in there. I've also seen it where if you have those people that install WordPress plugins that tell it to automatically make alt tags for every single image that's on the page, which is awful. It's an awful practice, an awful thing to do. You end up with a whole bunch of essentially descriptive, descriptive things for objects that are on the page that don't matter to a screen reader. Yet it's going to try to explain all of it.
Yeah. I mean, and one thing, there's a term in the accessibility community for auto captioning. They call it craptions, because a lot of times you get words that could mean, you know, totally mean something insensitive, or, you know, I saw this one presentation by Ahmed over at WordCamp Europe, and it was just on that particular thing. And the words that come up through an auto caption are pretty incredibly funny, but also pretty scary. There was a press conference, and I can't say the word on it. But anyway, it translated a word into something obscene, and it was by a prime minister in England. So yeah, so avoid that kind of stuff. And really with your images, it's all about the context of the text that's around the image. So if the image is blended into what you're writing about, write a caption or an alt tag that means something to someone that can't see that image. And that's probably the first biggest step. A lot of times people just say image of a woman, which means absolutely nothing to the person that's reading the text. So again, it's important, the context. And again, it's communicating clearly. That's one thing that we all fail at. We try to dress things up or make, you know, certain phrases fancy, or show that we can really write something really impressive, but it's about simply communicating. And I think we all want to get our message across as cleanly, as quickly as possible to get to the bottom line. So it's important.
Just the form, fill it out so we can, or apply or whatever. Hey, there's a question from Rhonda.
Yeah, Rhonda in the chat says, is there an alt description that screen readers know to bypass for decorative images and backgrounds?
Well, in the WordPress admin, when you upload an image, it now has a feature that asks if that image is decorative or not. And once you select that, then you don't have to worry about the alt tag.
Oh.
Yeah, you go like on the right hand side and all the way down the bottom. Which is sad that it's all the way down at the bottom. We need to fix that, but down at the bottom there is a button that you can click on to turn it on and off. Yeah.
Oh yeah, because I didn't see that, and they don't need this. They don't need the description that says spaced out chip banner. Like, I guess my website's all about like baking cookies, right? So there's like little chocolate chips as a divider.
Like a decorative
chips,
element?
yeah, chips divider. Like, they don't need to read that, you know?
Yeah, or just think of the websites. It was a design trend a few years back where it was always a photo background. It's a decorative image, so it's not important to someone that's using your site, so it doesn't need to be read by the screen reader. So you sort of have to prioritize what the image's purpose is, what its context is around the text that's it's supporting, and then go from there.
I love that. So let's talk about social media.
Right?
I know.
Okay, so Deborah Ono Smart, Red Crew on Twitter, she is huge on accessibility, and she was tweeting out, you need to camel case hashtags because that way the screen reader will read it. Like, if you do content marketing as a hashtag and you write capital C and capital L, it'll say hashtag content marketing. Otherwise, it tries to pronounce it as one word. Okay, so like I always did it because, first of all, besides screen readers, it's easier for all of us to read and helps with people not reading wrong things.
Reading into it or reading the wrong. Yes. Yeah, because a lot of times, just imagine when you see a long hashtag, a lot of times you have to read it twice to sort of figure where it's like a personalized license plate. Like sometimes you have to read it 2 or 3 times to figure out what they're saying. I mean, that's the perfect thing in terms of hashtags. When you use a camel case, the screen reader knows it's a different word. So you're communicating on that level too.
Yeah. So like, that's one thing that I think is important. What about, like, do you think now Twitter allows you to use alt tags for your images you upload and for GIFs? I haven't been doing it.
I mean, just think that's natural for most people to upload something quickly and do a quick tweet and hit send because they want to get that idea out. But I think it was either 2016 or 15, Twitter added that ability to add in captions. So why not? You know, and again, you're not just talking to your typical audience, you're talking to everyone that might possibly read it. Yeah. And Twitter has a much larger audience of people that they may read your tweet, but may not be a friend or may not be a connection. So why not make it available to everyone? So.
Selfie number 457, selfie with a selfie with a puffy face, selfie at the beach number 28.
But you'd have to say woman at the beach because that's the way that you're supposed to be writing that. It's like, yeah, be more descriptive. Bridget happy at the beach. Bridget, whatever at the beach. Yeah.
I mean, it would be cool if, how in Twitter, when you're typing in your statement or your phrase or your tweet, they give you that little dial that tells you how close to being over you are. It would be nice if you were adding an image that it had some sort of indicator to let you do that too, but it's really important. It's got to be some kind of guideline, or because most of the time, like I said, just in general, if you look back over how you build web pages, you never really think about the alt tag unless it's part of your routine. What I always try to communicate is trying to build a process that includes that extra step. It may be 5 or 10 extra seconds.
Yeah.
But it's important to, again, expand your audience.
I'm pretty good at it for the website because part of it used to be my job to just go through the media library and write alt tags. There's always somebody making a program trying to replace my job. I can't believe there's anyway, stop it, programmers. But anyway, but I didn't think about it from that standpoint. And I guess I should take the extra, since I'm a Twitter expert or whatever. I should probably do that.
Like those images, you're defining that, just like with that decorative thing. You're defining that at the image level, not at the post level. So, for instance, if you always use the same image not use the same image every single time, but if you use an image over and over again within your media library,
I do that with GIFs.
Exactly. On the website, it'll reuse that that alt tag, so that way you're not having to go and retype it in every single time. Unfortunately, if you go and reuse the same meme over and over again on Twitter, you're going to have to go and retype in that that markup, that extra piece into it every single time, which is unfortunate, because it's like, how many times do I have to describe the fact that the poor dog is sitting inside the house that's on fire, and I have to figure out a different way of explaining it because of the fact that the context has changed.
Yeah, I mean, just imagine if you sent that message out without that GIF.
Yeah,
I mean, most people design with the image in mind.
Right.
But what about people that can't see that image? Or if it's a video with some sound, on Instagram, for instance, a lot of times the video, what they're saying is more important than what you see.
Exactly.
But what if you can't hear, or what if you can't see? So it's important.
Yeah, that's a good point, Joe, because I just thought Twitter just doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But I didn't think about that from that standpoint. Like, what is the purpose of you including that photo? Because I used to not use GIFs. And what I would do is just write. Like, I get paid to put words on the internet. Like, so I would just say, "Oh, bummer, friend." But now I go, "Oh," like I do the Lucille Ball or something. Oh, and so, but I see why that's important. And so, let's transition to emoji.
Oh man. Whew. Talk about a way of describing something, and it can be interpreted 9,000 different ways.
Yeah,
Emojis.
But the screen reader, doesn't it say heart eyes? Heart eyes?
Oh, I have Apple CarPlay, and my mom is really big on emojis. So so when I'm listening, it says claps hands, heart emoji. But it doesn't really, I mean, emojis are really something for the sighted, kind of. I mean, to me, emojis have a long way to go to be accessible.
Right.
Yeah, it's really difficult because it does, if you, like I said, when it reads it back to me on CarPlay, I have no idea what it's really saying unless it's something that I'm familiar with. So it's sort of a usability problem that's already baked in. I'm not sure how we can solve that one.
Well, okay, and especially when they're trying to stand for something else. I mean,
Right.
We're not going to go into that, but here's the thing. I see this all day long. This is one of my many soapboxes. On Twitter, people are using emoji as bullets or to replace text. So I already know this because of when I get things read to me that it says that. Like, I used to text this guy, and because there's too many Jasons in my life, in my phone, it's J with a red heart and a flame. So I'll say, send a text message to J, red heart, fire. Yes. Okay, J, red heart, fire says, like, I know it reads that, right?
It means something to you.
So, but like, so if you're doing a screen reader and you're trying to make points in your tweet or in your Facebook post or in your, oh my God, on LinkedIn, people are doing this, which is so, it makes me crazy. Okay, it makes me
a serious face with monocle man with light skin tone shrugging yawning face with closed eyes.
I mean, you understood that, right?
No, I didn't.
Monocle
okay?
man.
Monocle man. I love Monocle Man, but still, like, here you are, you're trying to make a point. The most important part of Twitter is Monocle Man. A Monocle Man. I mean, you're breaking it up, and now you're messing with comprehension.
Right.
So it's already having to be audio, right? Okay, so for me, and this is my long kickoff to you because you have such a design background. Now, I am more of a psychology background, how your brain works, that kind of stuff. So I know that, and this is why there's so many spelling mistakes when we do things in art, because your brain is either designing or it's writing, it's reading or it's enjoying. We're not doing the same thing at the same time. So if I'm reading a tweet and it's broken up by a picture, because that's what emojis are. Emojis are picture. An emoji is a picture. You're reading words and then it's a picture, words, picture. It becomes all of a sudden very difficult. And I'm not even dyslexic. And I now have 20/20 vision, right? So it's the switching of your brain. And this is what I've tried to communicate to my friends and WordPress products and WordPress agencies who are using their time to get attention are actually self-defeating, and they will not listen to me on this. And I beg them to stop doing it. And there's one guy who does it, and everybody thinks it's super good, and all are jumping off the cliff with the rest of the lemmings. And you just spent all that money getting somebody to do that, and then you're like, well, I think it's really cute. But did anybody read it? Right. So your brain is going pictures, word. And if you're getting screen reader, it's monocle man words. Now I'm like, wait, now you just added 2 more extra words for every single line. And maybe more. Girl with smiling face, girl with her face on her hand on her face. Like, wait, what was the sentence before?
Yeah.
I mean, it adds a whole nother layer of it, like you said, interpretation. It's like you have to figure out what the emoji means, then what the emoji stands for is supposed to mean. Like, is it being happy, or is it, it's like adds multiple layers of interpretation when we just want to be communicated to simply. I don't want to sound like the guy that's on his porch screaming at kids on his grass kind of thing, but a lot again it goes back to it's something that's fashionable, it's something that's trendy, it's cute,
right?
And it doesn't really serve its purpose, I guess, until someone brings a lawsuit or something like that. It may never change, or they may never take a different approach to emojis. And unfortunately, a lot of times that's what causes people to change their behavior when it becomes something punitive. Or, now there's so many, if you look at all the companies that have been sued for accessibility issues, and now it's like they're going after mom and pop shops. It doesn't matter. It's if your site is inaccessible. I know I got into it. I worked for a public transit agency, and a long time ago, a couple of our customers felt that our bus stops weren't accessible. They decided to sue our agency, but they turned it into a class action and they tossed the website in on top of it.
Wow.
So just think, if you're a business where people come into your store and there's something accessible, they could toss your website in. I mean, it's something that you don't really face. And I think was a slide in my Long Beach presentation. It was like a picture of the freeway. Like, most of us speed or sometimes break the laws of the road, but we don't think we're going to get caught. And I think most people that are marketing or building websites don't think that they're going to be dinged for these things. But again, if you do some of the basic things, I mean, why not just do the basic things to have your butts covered? Excuse my French.
No, but like, okay, so you get a speeding ticket. What's $100, $250? I don't know. I haven't gotten one yet, but the risk, right? So, but if you get sued in a class action, that it's higher.
Yeah.
It's more expensive.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. And you've lost customers. Like, I'm not losing customers by speeding, right?
Oh, yeah. I know. Yeah. And like I said, it goes back down to the money thing. It's like, why wouldn't you try to make your site or your social media presence as accessible to as many people as possible? That's more leads, more possible clients. Your clients are happier. It actually adds to your value as an entrepreneur. I mean, you have a bigger skill set that's tried and true. It'll actually improve your SEO when your page loads faster, or when it's semantically built correctly. I mean, there's physical, or logical, or tangible, I should say, tangible things that happen when you make your site or your presence more accessible.
While we're on the subject of bad trends and things, one I've seen quite a bit of, and I'd imagine that many of the social media folks have been doing, is the fact that you can use different websites that will take very high-end Unicode, which is like stuff that kind of looks like the letter T, but not necessarily, or something that kind of looks like the letter O, but isn't necessarily that, or it looks scripty, so it makes it look like it's cursive, but it really isn't, or upside down text, where you actually have the text look like it's upside down, because there's Unicode that will actually deal with that too. So that Unicode standard works on any computer that's out there. But if you've ever tried to use a screen reader, or even just like if you copy and paste it, put it up on your phone real quick, highlight it and tell it to speak it, it'll actually, just like I did, with the emojis, it doesn't even make sense. It's like dash line, in dash, m dash, this dash, it's like it just starts explaining those things instead of. So if you're using this trend of like making bold text, or making text that has like multiple lines to it, so it looks like it's like scripted, or it has some kind of like stroke around it or something like that, stop doing that. Like they can't be read. It makes it extremely difficult for anyone to even read it to begin with. And yeah, it makes your text look different, but in the long run, no one can read it.
Dude, this is the perfect segue to my Instagram rant, because they are the worst offenders. You have all these 20-somethings to 50-year-old moms doing this stupid shit, and first of all, before I had 20/20 vision, I can't read it. Okay, and they're also using emoji in their text to break it up, which they could use gram spacer, which I love, and it's the best $3 I ever spent. Not a paid advertisement, but a former Tooler tip of the week. But like yes, oh my gosh, that is the worst. It's the worst. And the thing is, and I know people that do this all the time. I see it sometimes on Twitter in bios, but I see it all the time on Instagram. And so, first of all, you have text you can't read, or that's broken up by a bunch of emoji, which is, again, super small. Yeah, exactly. OMG, buy my thing. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Which is hard anyway. But okay, so then here's the image situation, right, Joe? So people are doing images on your phone. It's what? I don't know. How big is that?
Maybe 300 pixels, maybe.
So you got maybe 2 inches, a 2-inch square, 2.5 inch square, 3 inches on your phone, maybe. And yes, you can sort of pinch and zoom on Instagram. Not so much. If you see it on your computer, maybe it's 4 or 5 inches. They're putting text on this stuff that even with my new eyeballs, cannot read it. If I cannot read it, I'm going to keep on scrolling, flick past that thing. And I'm talking about some of my favorite people, the Angry Therapist. I see it in some of the guest posts from the Chris Doe. I'm seeing it, of course, on stupid menus, which I've already made tutorials about that.
Oh, yeah.
Like, nobody can read your menus. Nobody can read it. If I've literally called one of my favorite restaurants and said, I can't read your menu. Is a cheeseburger on the menu today? I've DM'd them my tutorial, and they're like, well, it's just, we like the way it looks. Okay. Do you want more people with money buying from you, you weirdo?
Well, back in when I was in the design world, and we would get someone new to our company, a new intern, right, fresh out of design school, there would always be a joke on the type size. Everything they would design would be 7 or 8 point. And again, it's like, I can't read this. And that's the first lesson they learn. One thing that goes back to, and I've heard you speak about sliders in the past, how you hate them. And it's a nightmare for accessibility as well. But again, it goes to nowadays, everything starts on your phone. So it really needs to work small. Whereas like most people design with large images and things like that push your text off the screen. And then if you don't have an alt image or a description of that image, you totally lose a potential customer. I think most people will bounce off your page if they don't get what they need, a fast loading page, or see what they want within a couple of seconds. So all that extra stuff is sort of clutter. It's all style based. So we sort of have to rethink about how we want to communicate. And again, it's about communicating succinctly and pretty efficiently. So
Yeah, I just think that if you're going to do that, then all those same words should be in the caption.
yep.
Yeah.
Or in your photo descriptions. I mean, it's got to be in there. And like you said, the thing I really hate, like on Instagram, you have to really try to pinch and zoom to zoom in. It's not really made for that. So a lot of the user experiences don't let you look at the image larger. So if there's text at this, 1 point, because they designed it for Twitter at 1024 and it's on Instagram that's half that size, it's not going to be legible. So
no, and that's what I mean. Like, we talk about testing.
Ooh, that's my favorite word these
right?
days.
But
it's always been.
I just, sometimes I comment and I go, nobody can read this. Okay, so in California, we're all in California. Right now, we're having a pandemic. For those who are watching this 10 years from now, hopefully we're all still alive. And the world is coming to an end or whatever. And so I'm following the California governor and the California Department of Health. And interestingly enough, even though our governor goes live on Facebook every day, the graphics are on Instagram first. So
Yeah.
I'm seeing the numbers on Instagram first. Guess what? Can't read them all. Okay. So I don't even look at the picture anymore. Now I go to the actual text. But like, this is important information that's vital to what's going on with our health and public safety.
I know. One of the slides in my presentation, you keep bringing me back to the Long Beach presentation. One of the slides was on infographics, which, a lot of people try to convey a lot of complex information in a graphic. What if you can't see that graphic? You should, and my example was, you always have to have a step-by-step description of what's in that graphic below the graphic for people that can't see. And it's also helpful for people that don't want to look at it. I know
Right.
the designers spend hours and hours and hours coming up with the greatest, most beautiful infographic that shows a horse can jump through a hoop at 35 miles per hour, but you got to be able to see that information somewhere else so you can read it.
Yeah. I mean, that's not even talking about contrast. Like, we're not even talking about contrast.
boy.
We're just talking about font sizes here.
Yeah. And it's, the example I used too was like a bar graph. If you have a bar graph with all the same shapes, if someone's colorblind, they see all the information as the same. They can't distinguish that this circle is red and this circle is green, for example. So yeah, so it's all connected, but again, it's all like simple things that you can do. And I show an example of, like, if you change the shape, if you, instead of having all circles, if you have circles, triangles, and squares, they can visually see that they're different. So it's all those little things that help you communicate better and communicate simply.
Yeah. I mean, look at signage. The men's is a triangle, the women's is a circle.
Yeah.
Restroom
Yeah.
or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
The having something that's other than color or other than shape or other than an image with text baked into it, you have to have the alternative to it. So it makes it so it's just way easier to understand. And also, like, not everyone's from this country. So if they arrive at this country and they look and they're like,
yeah,
what is going on here? Well, it's the same thing for the internet. Like, the internet is, is international. And it's something where you need to be able to either use standards that are already in place, so that way you don't have to come up with your own thing, or you at least make sure that you're looking at this and testing it and making sure things are looking good. Joe, you were saying that testing's your favorite, one of your favorite things. What's a favorite that you have when you go to run a test on, say, a website that either you're building for someone else, or that you just look at it and you go, man, this thing's gonna be awful. Let's see what happens when I run this test on this. What's one of those tests that you first start off with?
Well, again, like I said, I always start with the basic tab test. That's one thing, and then there's some online testing tools that you can do it. But one of my favorite things, and again, it happened at a recent meetup, was they had someone that was blind come in, and so the audience said, "Hey, take a look at my site," and then he used a screen reader to try to read it. When you observe someone using your site, because a lot of us, we're familiar with the sites that we build because we build them, but
right,
you know, if you call your son or daughter in or your wife in to do that same experience, you'll find out things. So when I'm talking about testing, that's what I mean. If you get someone other than yourself, and like I said, it would be even more of a benefit if you can tap into the accessibility community and pull someone in to help that way. For instance, at our agency, we're a public agency, and we have an outreach group for accessibility. And in the past, we pull people in to test our website way back when I did a redesign. So if you have someone that could test in that way, that's the best kind of testing. And when I mentioned that's my favorite way of testing, when you see someone use your site, you'll get, and that's a UX principle as well as an accessibility in terms of UX means.
Right.
So as long as you can have someone in and you can observe them testing your site, it goes back to the small text on a menu. You know, do they even try to read it or get their mother or their father to read it? One thing that we all face as we get older, we're eventually gonna have a disability. I had a couple years ago, I went to Mexico. And I was walking down the street with a margarita, and it wasn't because I had a margarita in my hand that the sidewalk was cracked. Rolled and broke my ankle. I was off from work for a month or so. I couldn't really get around, and it forced me to use a website to order groceries. You know, I know we're all in the pandemic now. How many of our favorite restaurant sites don't have pickup or curbside or didn't have available? I know my favorite ramen restaurant closed for 2 months before they figured out a way that you can order over the phone. That's ridiculous. How many of us would eliminate a certain audience? So accessibility is about planning for those worst case scenarios. And unfortunately, the pandemic forced us to face a lot of those, and it got us a lot more work, which is great. But yeah, those simple things. I mean, and like I said, it goes back to testing. If you never know that most people can't use a PDF menu with 7-point type, you'll keep it that way.
That was scanned. That was scanned. It's not even actual text that you could highlight.
I know. And if someone with the screen reader looked at that PDF, it's probably just a big graphic.
Right.
You know, what about those? And one of my
with no alt text.
I know. One of my pet peeves is a lot of designers want to use a huge graphic in an email.
Yes, I was just gonna bring up emails.
Oh my God.
Now we're having the company.
We don't even have enough time to talk about this right now. Are you kidding me?
I mean, it's funny because Michelle Kiefer has alluded to things you brought up. Amy Hall has alluded to this in her. Jen Miller has alluded to all this, and now it feels like this is the
it's a convergence.
It is. It's
all the worlds are coming together.
The synergy of you guys. Simon Sinek just started doing this before his emails were whatever his little platitude was, and I love him. But now it's the graphic with the words on it. And most people have images turned off on their emails.
That's right. That's right. Like our company thinks it's a spam when it has a lot of graphics and it turns them off automatically. So that kills your message right away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And when I heard that people are listening to their emails through like the various talking tubes, if you will, without saying any names and making them go off, having those things like read the email to you, it's just going to say, witty image, and that's it. And it's not even going to be able to tell you any of it.
And in most cases, it's not going to have an alt tag, so it's not going to say anything.
Right, exactly. And
it's going to show you the red X of death.
And I've even seen them where they take the image and they chop them up into pieces. So it's even worse now. So it's like now, and it's not accessible. It's not responsive. It doesn't. None of that stuff works.
Yeah, and to me, again, my message is always the basics, and the same basics that work for a website, work in email. And a lot of the tools, I think, and I'm not gonna plug any of the tools, but out of the box, their emails are responsive. They allow you to structure your content, and how many of us have seen, like in Microsoft, if you just go H1, H2, they've already created a hierarchy that people follow. And what does a designer do? They immediately change the type sizes and then they stagger them. It's more of a design tool instead of just basically communicating. So all these basic things that are in place, we can utilize them and make our information and our message more clear.
Yeah, if I were to load up one of those websites that I built in the mid 90s that was essentially H1, H2, H1, H2, like all of those H1s and H2s were because the font size was bigger. So I picked the H1 because it was larger, and then the H2 because it was a little bit smaller than the H1, and so on and so forth. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, how many people use H4, H5, H6?
No, just stop it. Stop. Yeah. I can't handle it. Like, so I'm the blog person, right? And then part of my job is to go in and clean that crap up. Sometimes, because I don't just do social media. You know, sometimes I work with agencies and stuff. But like, and when I was at the advertising agency, I did that all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. It's so, now I'm like, look, hey, I'll give it to you on a Google Doc. If you want to mess it up later.
I know, it's up to you. Yeah. I mean, and again, my message is not to get people angry or upset that they have to do this or they should do this. Because the presentation I gave at Long Beach was on Ouch. And it was funny because there's someone in our community that's really an incredible accessibility speaker named Sumner Davenport. I was watching her present because I wanted her to speak at our first WordCamp. And the woman that was next to me was so worked up about what Sumner said that she punched me in the shoulder. And she said, accessibility gets me so angry. So that's why my presentation was like, ouch, accessibility shouldn't hurt. Because in that moment, it hurt me. It wasn't a big deal, but it worked so many people. Like at Long Beach, I remember there was one gentleman in the audience, and I saw him later at a Pasadena meetup. He was still he was angry at me for what I was saying. I was like, this provides value that you can charge your customers for. Why are you mad at me? He was like, I got to go back to my client and tell him I have to do this work. It should be
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Sounds great. You should do that. You should definitely do that.
That's called a change order. So
right?
Yeah.
I preach about the change orders, man. And so I mean, this kind of like goes back to, are you scoping the work correctly? Maybe you're not scoping the work correctly.
Yeah.
You know, this is best practices.
But then you think as a business man or woman, you want to turn that project around in as little as time as possible. But if you're not really maximizing what their bang for the buck's going to be on the end, it really doesn't serve your process to ignore that stuff.
Well, plus it won't work. Like, that's the thing. It's like I literally had a sales call and the guy said, how much will it cost me to get 10,000 followers? And I said, oh, yeah, I got the answer for that. 5 years.
Right.
He doesn't want to hear that. Yeah.
I go, it takes time. You can't just be an influencer. You can't just buy an account that already has followers on it. Because even if
change the entire thing on them.
I mean, you could. Jen Miller and I were joking, like, we should just do that. Sell it already But the thing is, they're not the right people.
No.
The whole point of being an influencer is somebody likes what you have to say. So that means you have to say stuff consistently over time.
And that's the message too of accessibility. Like if you create
There's my emoji.
Yeah. The bridge emoji. Nice. Yeah,
I don't know how to.
Yeah, you're creating a consistent way to communicate. And that makes your audience that reads your information more comfortable with what you're trying to communicate.
So this whole idea that design should be how it aesthetics should prioritize over words is really what needs to die.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
You preach it to the choir.
Well, I mean, you're a designer, so it feels like it's terrible to say it that way, but
I feel like I'm burning the bridge as I cross it, kind of thing. Designers that are still in there. Yeah, but I mean, it's sort of like, I think of it as like if you have a model kit for a boat, like you put it together and then you put it in the water and watch it go. That's sort of what design is. Design has an endpoint. You know, they come up with a great concept. You think of like Bewitched, like Darren coming up with a great concept that all of his managers love and his clients are going to love. And then they set it out into the world, but they don't really get the feedback or the data that they need to know whether it's effective or not. Like to me, that's why I criticize designers. It's more about finishing it and delivering it rather than how it's going to perform and the return on investment. So that's why I criticize them, because I feel like a lot of them don't take it all the way through to finding out whether it works or not.
Right. And that's why you need to talk to marketing people because it's our job to not be yes men. A good marketing person should do, I guess they call it, the official people call it SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, whatever, opposition, threats, or whatever. But the point is, like, you have that. So I just watched that movie Midway, and they're doing this war game. The Japanese are doing this war game, and part of the team is assigned to be the Americans so that they can figure out what these plausible strategies are. Like, are the Americans going to know that they're already at Midway? Do they know they want Midway? That whole situation. So, like, there has to be somebody that says, okay, but maybe it looks like this. Well, okay, that looks nice, but are people going to be able to read it? Let's pull it up on your phone. And we haven't even touched on people without good Wi-Fi who are on 2 or 3G. We haven't even talked about that. We're only talking about in our privileged world with gigablast internet and eyes that are dying because of entropy, because everything goes from order to disorder. That's the second law of thermodynamics. This is science. Your brain cannot be switching back from pictures to words, and then still have the same level of comprehension. And then you add in the fact that not only are screen readers important for visually impaired, but our world is changing to virtual assistants, Siri, Alexa, Google Home, reading to you constantly. And you're supposed to comprehend that. Like, right. I didn't even consider that, Jason. I forget people have their earbuds in listening to emails because I don't do that.
Yep, I do it all the time, and I listen to text messages that way too. Which brings us to, not at all, but it brings us to now, the tour tip of the week.
Perfect segue.
I did want to tell you that the tour tip of the week is brought to you by The Query, which is a new show that we just launched over on WPwatercooler Network. The Query is a show where we're going to be discussing the questions and hopefully the answers to those questions that you present. If you go over to the website, WPwatercooler.com/thequery, you can go take a look at that, and Jason Cosper will be reading those emails and those voicemails. You can leave a voicemail, which is pretty neat. And you can leave voicemail, you can leave an email, and even use on social media as well using the hashtag #AskTheQuery. And what we're doing is we're collecting all of those emails, and then Jason Cosper is going to go through and actually answer those questions live on the show. So it's like this, but it's more of him going through all those and finding those answers for you. And if you've ever spoken to Jason Cosper at one of these, either at a meetup or at a WordCamp, the guy is ridiculously knowledgeable, and he's going to be able to just dump some knowledge on you, and you'll be able to learn some cool stuff. So, Bridget.
What did I say first. My tool was?
I don't know. What was it?
In the pre-show?
I don't remember.
Good grief. I knew I had something, but whatever. I can't remember it now.
What do you got going on? What's something that you have going on right now that you would you'd be able to share with us?
Lately, I've been I bought the Fire Stick because the Apple TV doesn't do HBO anymore. My old Apple TV. So I've been doing my Sarah Beth yoga. So I guess that works. Yesterday I was very stressed out. I've been stressed out for the last 3 days, having ridiculous nightmares. So in addition to my Headspace app, sleep meditations, which I've already talked about a million times, I decided that I would do the 15-minute chill out yoga last night before I go to bed. And it did help me because it's just so easy to what makes us good at marketing and problem solving and engineering in our world of WordPress and tech is that our ability to constantly problem solve. What makes it bad is for our personal lives. And that means our brain is constantly working. And, sometimes you got to shut a computer down. And so it was good for me to just go, okay, whatever happened today, I can't control it. It's over. Tomorrow's a new day. Do my stretch yoga, go to sleep. Namaste. So I really like Sarah Beth Yoga, her YouTube channel, for that reason, because it is broken down in different playlists, either by body part. There's like hip yoga, blah, 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 maternal yoga, or whatever it's called. When you're pregnant, that's not maternal, it's something else. And then there's like by time, there's 10-minute or 15-minute yoga, 10-minute yoga, 20-minute yoga. And then there's like the types. So the like super aggressive workout yogas or the flow yogas. And then there's also like stretch yoga. Like, so it's beginners, it's intermediate, like, so it doesn't matter what's going on. Like I can pick from the beginner list, or I can pick from my hips are bothering me list, or I can pick from nighttime yoga. So I really like how the channel, actually, if you want to learn about a really good way to set up your YouTube channel, you should check out Sarah Beth Yoga. It's Sarah with the H, Sarah Beth Yoga's channel. It is extremely well organized. So when I'm on my Amazon Fire Stick, in the YouTube app on my telephone, on my, not screencasting from my phone, but using YouTube app on my TV, which is a new thing for me at 47 years old, admittedly, because before I was just screencasting with AirPlay. So I'm navigating, and then I can go, hey Alexa, find Sarah Beth Yoga, and she does. So, you know, I feel like it's a really good tool to use. For me, it's yoga to chill out. But also, like from a marketing standpoint, go check out her channel. Look at how it's organized, because there's multiple playlists. There isn't just one video isn't only on one playlist.
Right.
It's probably on beginners, hips, nighttime, and 10-minute. It's probably on 3 or 4 different playlists.
Like those are her tags within WordPress.
Yes.
Versus the categories.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's brilliant.
Joe, but what about you? What do you got?
I could stay in the same yoga range because I had a heart event a few years ago. So each morning, 5 minutes before sunrise, I try to get out and walk and get some mindfulness in. So I would add on top of Bridget's. I love Buddhify for some of the same reasons. It has different yoga paths based on the time of the day. So there's one on waking up, and it has maybe 10 different exercises, or one when you're having a stressful day, one when you're walking or moving about. Like a lot of folks don't think that you can meditate or become mindful when there's all this activity around you. So I love that tool. And I would say in terms of accessibility, I would say there's a couple of Chrome browser extensions that you can use. There's a color contrast analyzer plugin. There's one that'll run some accessibility tests on your site for you. So I would say use a couple of those. Those will be my tips. Or my tip of the week.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for that. So mine is not yoga related. Sorry.
We haven't converted you yet.
Sorry. No, mine's not yoga related, but it is WordPress related, which is the interesting one. So, so let's see here. Gravatar, which is a service that Automatic bought, like, I don't know, it was like in the mid 2000s, like 2007, 2008 or something like that. Is a service that allows you to take your images of yourself and upload them and associate them with your email address. So that way, as you go around the internet, you start using your email address, it will be able to find an avatar that relates to it. Well, I've been using this program, and I even mentioned it on the show probably about a year back or so. I was using this app on my phone called Vignette. And what Vignette did is it let me scan through all my contacts and find images. Well, the guy who made Vignette is very Mac focused and very Apple focused. And he found that now that functionality is kind of built into the iPhone itself, if you're an iPhone user speaking to another iPhone user, it'll pop up a little banner up on the top that says, hey, do you want to get this contact information? You'll do a quick little handshake and send the info over. Well, with Gravatar, somebody took this whole Gravatar system and used it to be able to update the images. So for me, I'd say probably maybe a third of my friends use Android devices. Well, Android and iPhone don't talk to each other in the same way of being able to send that contact info back and forth. So this guy came up with this really great little app called Gravatar. And so what Gravatar does?
Gravatar.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So what Gravatar does is you do it and it scans, like it tells me like you have 900 people in your contacts. I'm like, dang, I got a lot of friends. No, I don't. But but what it does is it goes through and it finds the photos of the people using the email address. So the whole reason why I was telling you about the Gravatar thing is the fact that it takes the email addresses that are associated with your contacts, goes out to Gravatar, grabs those images, presents them here. And now if I want to update Jason Cosper, I just tap the little button on Jason Cosper's face. I hit save. And now Jason Cosper's contact now has his new Gravatar. Same with Bridget, which Bridget changes her Gravatar all the time. You can go through there and just go hit update. It runs through it real quick and updates them all. So if you're someone who has a bunch of like the letters that represent the person's name or something like that, use Gravatar and it will do it. I will say that it is $1.99 for the upgrade to be able to actually save those things, but you can run it for free just to test and see like, do my friends have Gravatars or not? And if they do, then you're good. If you have people that have never used Gravatar service before, it's obviously not going to work for you, and it probably isn't worth the $2 to find out that nothing got updated. But for me, I have a lot of tech people in my life, and so I was able to kind of go through and get those updated. So go check that out. That's available on the iPhone. I didn't check to see if there was anything equivalent on Android, but I know for iPhone there's something called Gravatar.
Yeah, and if you're a WordCamp speaker, even in virtually, and you're going to be listed on a website, you should make sure that you've updated your Gravatar. So that
or if you're someone who updates those comments on websites.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like there's so many WordCamp speakers who don't do that.
I know. The mystery man icon is too prevalent in the WordPress community.
I know,
right?
And y'all know better, so go do it. No, I know. I changed my hair a lot, but I didn't want to have my birthday martini glass one anymore.
Yeah,
I mean, it was a lemon drop, but whatever.
But it sounds like that would be a great topic for a podcast episode on why you change it, and I'm sure there's strategy behind why you change yourself.
I think that it should look like you.
Yeah.
So I don't wear glasses anymore. So I have to change my avatar. So because when you wear glasses, you look different. For a while, my mom was like, "Why are your eyes so puffy?" I'm like, "This is what my eyes look like."
They were just behind lenses before, right?
Really thick lenses.
Right.
So that's the thing. It's like, you have a beard. Like if either one of you shaved your beard, it would be very difficult to recognize you. Mm-hmm. So
I can't imagine, Jason. I can't imagine you without a beard. When was that?
Me neither. It's been a bit, but yeah, if I were to lose the beard and lose the glasses, I think I could probably just go anywhere and not be recognized at all, which would be pretty awesome.
Yeah, and I used to change my hair color a lot. I mean, I used to. I have historically changed my hair color a lot, going back to age 14, and and style. So, do you want people to recognize you? The whole point of having a profile image is so that people recognize you. Now, you shouldn't change it too much.
Right.
But if you don't look like you anymore and you want people to recognize you, if you're in the witness protection program, use an emoji.
I know. Change your name. Change your icon. Yeah.
Well, Joe, I want to wrap up here. I want to give you a moment to plug your stuff. Tell us where people can find you, how they should be interacting with you online, and maybe what's a good talk that they should go look up on WordPress TV to find out some stuff that you've been talking about in the past.
Well, you can find me in the WordPress community. I'm Joe Simpson, or basically anywhere. I tried to keep it simple. It's just Joe Simpson Jr. one word. So on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram /Joe Simpson Jr. You'll find me that way. My website is joesimpsonjr.info. I speak at WordCamps. I'm active in the community, so you can reach out to me there. So that's pretty much it. Awesome. What I'm currently working on is on WordPress TV. You can look up my name. You can look up accessibility and find me. You can look up SEO or community. I'm really big in the community. My story started, like I mentioned, as I had a heart event, and I wanted to, during my leave of absence, I got into WordPress. and meeting people like you two just inspired me to want to give back. There's so many people that were so kind to me. So my speeches are always about community or giving back or speaking to beginners that are new to WordPress that need that little bit of nurturing. So you can find me in those places.
Awesome.
So
Well, thank you
cool.
very much, Joe, for being with us. We really appreciate it. Here's our outro. See ya. Go help us over on Patreon. Go to patreon.com/WPwatercooler, where you can learn how to support us over there. We'd really appreciate it. Here's the fine folks that helped us out most recently. If you like this stuff, hit the subscribe button, hit the little bell. We really appreciate it. You'll get notified when we go live on our shows. And we're also a podcast. So if you want to listen to us as a podcast, go over to WPwatercooler.com/subscribe, where you can find us and subscribe to this content. If you like this content, we'd really appreciate it if you were to leave us a review. Go over to whatever place that you're watching us or listening to us at and leave us a review. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.